Just going on to YouTube right now.
No, I mean like, how are we starting this?
Oh, I'll start.
Okay,
I got to start going. No way.
we're already live.
It's fine. No one's watching this.
Okay.
It's just recording. Hey everybody, my name is John,
I'm Alicia.
and welcome to Parlay in the Basement. This is the very first episode. If you're coming to us from the Port Key Cast, welcome. We hope we do not disappoint you. If you are not from the Port Key Cast, how the hell did you find out about us?
All right.
Right, because I mean, well, hopefully you like what we have to say, and hopefully you enjoy our podcast. So basically, the premise of this podcast is nothing. We don't have like a structure
We don't really have a plan.
or anything. We're just kind of winging it. Like if you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience, it is not at all as good as that.
Wow.
just
Set the
think,
bar high.
yeah, just think of it like we are talking to each other because we're friends about things that we talk about,
Normally,
except everyone else gets to hear it.
which is scary.
Now, I do want to point out that the only thing we are probably experts in is cheerleading.
Yes.
So we might talk about cheer.
And we're sorry
We,
that we have to put you through that torture.
we might
A lot of
not.
people don't understand that. No, it comes up almost every time we have any conversation, just because that's our first mutual bond. With
Do not look
cheerleading.
at yourself on the camera.
I think it's weird that we're just looking at each other. See,
Yeah,
I have
we're
a
having
thing
a
with like the
conversation.
side of my nose. I don't like that.
Oh wow,
That's why I'm not trying to like.
we're having a conversation here. We are having a conversation.
And they can hear us.
Yeah, they're gonna hear our comment. They can see us. You're the one who wanted to live stream this.
Yeah, but I don't like the side of my nose.
At some point, maybe we'll get like a little couch or something here, and then we can face that and do it. I don't know. Anyway, so basically, this very first episode, we're just gonna kind of wing it, and within time, we will be a little bit more structured on like maybe we'll have like some segments, and maybe we'll have like
Maybe we'll have an actual plan going into this.
well, I know that you have a topic that you'd like to talk about, and I'll go off that topic. I will start though, because my topic probably won't take up nearly as much time. I'm only going to talk about the topic that I know about, and it is currently what's on my mind, and it's the fact that New Found Glory is coming out with a new album. If you are a New Found Glory fan, you should be excited. If you're not a New Found Glory fan, what are you doing with your life? If you don't know who New Found Glory is, they are basically one of the originators of pop punk. If you don't know what pop punk is, like Blink 182 or Good Charlotte or Old Fall Out Boy. That's all pop punk. I don't know why they didn't get as big. I mean, they're huge, but they never got the mainstream like mainstream love that like a Fall Out Boy or a Good Charlotte type of band did. They're more like people who are from like the originator, like the original lovers of pop punk. They like them. Like Blink 182 took them on tour. They were headliners of the Warped Tour. I don't know if you know what the Warped Tour is, but they were headliners of the Warped Tour like 10 times.
I know what the Warped Tour is, but I've never been there because I was very not into
Yeah,
all of that. And honestly, like I don't know one single song by New Found Glory.
it's okay. I can show
Maybe
you.
if you like told me what they were, then. But I'm really bad at that to begin with. Like,
Probably won't know any of the like My Friends Over You, Head On Collision. I mean, it's okay. I don't expect you to know 'em. But their new album's coming out, and they have
I
this
feel like
is.
they were popular in like 2007.
I mean, people you would know. Yeah, they were around then. Like their heyday was probably like 2004, 2003 was like when they were biggest popularity amongst the country.
I guess that makes sense.
They're still going strong
I
though.
think everything happened in 2007. So like, if you
Yeah.
tell me anything, I'm like, yeah, that was 2007.
Yeah, I mean, 2007 was a good year from what I remember. It was right before the crash, and everyone had money, and everyone was happy, and Barack was president. Was Barack president then?
I don't know.
I think he was. Now, see,
No.
now I need to know.
No.
Was Bush still in office?
Yes. I don't know.
Obama.
2012, 2012, 2016.
Yes, it was still Bush. He was president from 2000.
And And also,
2009 to 2017.
I am gonna look this way a lot because I'm so used to watching the bar for the recording.
Oh yeah,
So yes, I am gonna look over that way.
it's fine. Um, so their album's coming out. They released their first single off the album, "Power of Love." The album is called "From Your Screen to Your Stereo 3," and the premise of the album is well, you heard the one song.
Yeah.
I know it's a cover, but it was good. The guy has a good voice and they
Hmm.
play well. Um,
But my whole thing is that's a cover.
yeah,
So
you haven't heard
like
their
I like covers, but it doesn't do
you
anything for the band itself for me.
yes. Um, the premise is they take popular songs from movies that they love, and they cover them in a pop punk way. So pop punk is more like it's less angry. Like punk rock is considered angry. It's kind of heavy, like a heavier like distortion to the guitars, but they tend to be happier chords and happier lyrics, about love and stuff like that. Um,
So happy.
yeah, love is happy. Um, a band. Anyway, the video for Power of Love was really good. It was since Power of Love is from Back to the Future, and
Which is a great song.
it is. That's the
Yes.
power of love.
Yes.
Um,
We referenced the song in Porky Cast, so this
we
is
did.
obviously a favorite of ours.
um, but it made me. What the reason why I wanted to talk about this wasn't because of Newfound Glory, as much as I could talk about Newfound Glory. I don't know everything about them or anything like that by any means necessary. But I went to like their third or second show ever when they were first starting out because my brother took me to the show. Um, but the
Oh my
reason,
god, I'm so stupid.
huh?
I'm like sitting here. This my life in general. I'm like looking at this and looking at this. I'm like, why is his so far apart and mine isn't? I'm stupid. I'm stupid.
I just
It's because mine sounds so low, and when you bring it up, it separates.
yeah,
Sorry, guys.
it's okay.
I'm stupid.
Um,
But I was like trying to figure it out. That's why I was like playing with this and like looking at that.
yeah,
And
I
I
was
was like,
looking at you. What are you doing? So, well, I'm just gonna have to take apart the set then if you're gonna be distracted by the fairy lights.
I'm not distracted by the fairy lights. I was looking at the gap in this, and I'm
so,
distracted by everything in life.
so what made me actually want to talk about this was Huey Lewis in the News, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know a few of their songs, but I wasn't really like a big fan of theirs. Like I know "Hit to Be Square" and "Power of Love" and "Back in Time." Songs that they're pretty popular, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it always reminds me of American Psycho. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Oh, it's a great movie. And in it, the Christian Bale's character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jason, what's his name? Bateman, maybe? I think it's Jason Bateman. No, Jason Bateman's a person.
Jason Bateman is definitely a person. He was.
Um, where's my cellular device?
Did you leave it upstairs?
It's in my pocket.
Oh.
My friend just actually commented on my thing. Oh, Patrick Bateman. There it is, Patrick Bateman. So the killer, Patrick Bateman, he's a serial killer, and he likes to kill people to. Well, I don't know if he likes to, but he kills people to Huey Lewis in the News.
He likes to.
And
I'm assuming he likes to if that's like a regular
well,
thing.
in the one
That's
part
like his serial killer trait. Like,
well, in the one part he goes really into detail about why he thinks that Huey Lewis in the News um is so underrated and how this one album is really good. Well, anyway, whatever. It's he likes Huey Lewis in the News, and it always makes me think of that. And so I kind of want to give them a real shot, right? Like
mm-hmm.
like a real shot. I want to listen to them. I want to listen to their greatest hits, and then go into the deep dives, and then step back and be like, are they a great American band or are they overrated? I don't know. It's something I have to do. I'll come back to you all with that. That is
Jonathan really wanted to do a section of this where we like recommended songs. So there's probably gonna be a regular thing where he like picks out a song or an album that's coming out, and like y'all don't want to listen to what I listen to. I already know.
well, most of the stuff I'm gonna say is gonna be something that's old, probably. Like I would say if someone right now was like, "Hey, recommend a song to me right now," I'll probably say something like um,
I don't like.
Bobby Caldwell, "What You Won't Do."
Yeah. Y'all don't want to listen to what I listen to. I listen to almost strictly right now Ariana Grande, which I know like that's a topic that most people are like really for or really against. There's not really like a middle ground
I'm
for that.
whatever about her. Right now, she's very
Successful.
Of course, but that's not what I'm saying. Like right now, I feel like she is underappreciated in her time right now.
Mhm.
I think she's popular amongst kids, which is how it should be. But it's not like it's like when you go back and listen to like music from the '70s and you really break down the nuance of some of the things they're doing. Like, man, this is so underappreciated.
Mhm.
I think Ariana Grande, as she gets older and matures and she steps back from the limelight a little bit and just lets her music speak for itself,
Mhm.
you're gonna see her go down as one of the greatest voices to ever live.
Yeah, she's. I mean, her last two albums have been great. So,
So I think that also like these younger artists is like when you look at like Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber actually is a very good singer.
well, I feel like that's the issue is that she like came in with like a as younger, so all of her music was younger. So now she has these fans that are younger, and her music is progressing with her age. So
As it
now her
should.
music, yeah, but now her music is like not even borderline inappropriate for kids. Like it's just straight up inappropriate for kids. Like some of the stuff that she says, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't feel comfortable saying that around my family. So like,
Well, that's the other thing. That's gonna
so like my
progress
little
too.
cousin who went to her last tour,
Yeah.
like I don't want her going to this tour. I'm going to this tour. I'm going to the show in Nashville, but like I wouldn't want my 13-year-old cousin going to the tour and singing about. I don't even feel comfortable
Well,
saying
that's
it.
that's gonna progress too because you gotta look. I think Miley Cyrus is a great case in this
Yeah,
because
where she went from Hannah Montana
to raunchy Miley Cyrus.
to
And look at her now.
bangers.
Like look at her now. Like she's
But
so
she's very put together now. But she was like that in between, and I blame 100% her mental breakdown
yeah
on that one guy that makes you crazy.
yeah
She had her breakup, she had her crazy phase, and she was the person that was lucky enough to get the guy that made the crazy face happen
yeah.
because usually that doesn't happen.
But she's definitely matured, and she's definitely her music shows and her singing shows, and she's back to and that's gonna happen with Ariana Grande, right? She went from she was young, so she made music for her own demographic age, as she
Mm-hmm.
should. Now she's making music to say, I'm a woman. Look at me as a woman. I am a sex symbol. Look at me as a sex symbol.
Mm-hmm.
I am no longer a child.
Yeah,
So she's making that music. Then when she hits like 27, 28, 29, 30, you're gonna see much more like uh well, I would hope because I think that if she has good songwriters, 'cause I know she doesn't write her music, but I do know that she in an interview one time she said that all she has to have she approves all songs.
she assists in writing her
Yeah.
music in the last two albums.
Yeah, she has like she's
Basically, I know for a couple of songs she wrote about basically like anxiety and depression, which
yeah,
is part of the reason I got into the last album because I was like, wow, you're not talking about like uh in her last album, like what was it, like Side to Side,
yeah,
Nicki Minaj, and I was like, that's stuff that you definitely talk about in the beginning of college, like
yeah,
uh but as far as like the anxiety depression part, they basically sat her down in the room and she started having an anxiety attack and they were like, write down exactly what you're feeling.
yeah.
And they turned it into a song and that's
I think that you're gonna see that you're gonna get a lot more just like with any artist to go like like I said, like Miley Cyrus is a great current example. Michael Jackson's another good example.
mm-hmm,
You go from Jackson 5 to he went on his own, like Little Michael, took a break, came back as teenage Michael, and did Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, and then actually you have Thriller and Beat It, and then Man in the Mirror, and then Remember the Time. Like it's like you can really see you can if when you get a good artist who has um, a good longevity in the industry, right? You can really watch them mature
mm-hmm,
within their music, and like people like I said, like Miley Cyrus and Michael Jackson are great examples of that. Of what you're talking. We went from singing about nursery rhyme, Rockin' Robin,
mm-hmm,
to singing "Remember the Time" when he's talking about a love that he lost, and he's like, "Remember these good times that we had?"
mm-hmm,
Those are talking about change. A man in the mirror. And Michael wrote his own. There's actually a funny when they were doing Thriller, uh, Quincy Jones told Michael that he needed a song for the white people, right?
mm-hmm.
And so he went back and wrote "Beat It" because it's got like guitars and it's all kind of
Mm-hmm.
rocky, right? And one night and came back and he was like, "All right, I got it."
What were you gonna say about Thriller? Because okay, Thriller is one of those like memories I have as a kid, like when the music video would come on, and honestly, it scared the shit out of me, and I was scared of that
Thriller?
song. It scared me. I
Well,
was like
I was talking
really
about the
young.
album Thriller. I'm not talking about Thriller.
Oh no, I was talking about the
Well, I could.
actual song.
Well, let me tell you something about the song Thriller.
Okay, the song Thriller, the music video, it honest to God, it scared
Well,
me.
he wanted to make it like a movie. He was like, we want to make a whole like thing. It was like 20, 30 minutes long. The the thing was the music video.
Mhm.
But the thing about um Thriller is the song itself. It's actually the best mastered, right? And when we say mastering is at the end of the mix, like what you've recorded all your vocals, drums, guitars, whatever, you've mixed it all together. Mastering is gives it the final glued together sound,
Mhm.
right? It is considered one of the greatest mastered songs in modern music history, and or at least in recorded music history. And they actually did it many times. I don't know the exact number. I remember when I saw the documentary, they said the exact number, but they actually went back to the very first take. They did it many, many different times. Okay, pull the guitars up here, bring that bass kick here. My voice is a little hidden, pull it out a little bit, bring down this, changing all the frequencies and everything to try to make it sound super crystal clear. And this is like what, the 80s, right? They don't have half the technology we have now.
Mhm.
Like to do what I do with this little bit amount of stuff was
So it's like,
impossible
yeah,
back then, right? Um,
you all can't see his little bit of
yeah,
stuff,
but
but it's literally like just
well,
two.
there's stuff under the table and stuff you
Yeah,
don't
but I mean,
see.
like, it's still,
It's not, you go into some studios and it's just wall racks
yeah,
of equipment.
you have
But
like one, like,
one little thing, yeah. And I have a little keyboard right here. That's all you need. That's all you need nowadays. But back then you couldn't do anything with this. But they went back to the very first take. Like Michael was like, let me hear that first take again. And he was like, that's perfect. And they sent it off, and to this day, like a lot of people who master music for a living consider that one of the greatestly mastered songs ever. So I mean, that's little music history for you. I don't know if you're into that kind of stuff, but
Jonathan's always into that stuff.
yeah, music and film. It's what
Jonathan's,
interests me.
a lot of Jonathan's topics are going to be like
No,
what
because
song he's into
it's gonna
today.
it'll dive pretty deep. Because
Almost every time that we have a talk, you bring up some form of music. For a while it was K-pop, and we're hoping that he's past
Joe, we'll
that.
bring some. Well, hold on. We'll bring some K-pop back real quick if you want me to.
Jonathan, okay. First of all, this band
I
that,
still listen to K-pop every day, so don't even play.
okay, so this band that Jonathan listens to was literally on J14, like the cover of J14 magazine, which I didn't even know still existed because when I was like,
BTS, the
uh,
boy group or the girl
the
group?
boy group,
BTS.
yes, and they look like an Asian version of like Backstreet Boys,
Yep.
and they got like the bowl cuts and everything, and
Yep.
first of all, I didn't know that J14 still existed because that was a magazine that I had when I was like 12 and 13, and they still have the rip out posters.
Did you rip one
Like,
out for me?
no,
Probably could have put it up right there.
oh my god, it's so embarrassing.
Okay,
I just
little.
wanted to make fun of you because
You
this
can't
band that
make
you
fun of me.
like
You
was
can't
on the
see.
cover of
It's only making fun of if
J14.
someone gets embarrassed by it. But I'm not embarrassed by it. All you're doing is complimenting my taste in music to me.
J14
Hey,
is
those
your taste in
14-year-olds
music.
got great taste in music.
These 14-year-olds are listening to mumble rap.
Hey, whatever.
Don't even tell me mumble rap is good.
I don't listen to it. A little caveat. The reason why I call it parlay in the basement is we're going to have a conversation, a parlay, and the studio that we're in is in the basement.
Yes. Should read the definition of parlay. So
Well, it's more of like here's the iPad right here. So if you want to do anything, we have the iPad on the table for the purposes of looking things up or conveying any conversations that we need to
yeah,
look
I
up
know.
or anything like that. So
Um, so when we were thinking about what the name was going to be, sorry, I can't talk and type at the same time.
we were looking up
Uh,
conversation. The word like synonyms for the word conversation, and parlay came out, and
um,
we like basement because we're in the basement because originally the
the
first
first word we were coming up with was basement or cellar or something similar.
yeah, because
Um,
our original podcast, which is the Porky Cast, was supposed to be called the podcast under the stairs.
because we're still bitter about that wasn't
That's
it.
actually a horror podcast. I can't believe that. But so we was trying to figure out how do we do this, and then my wife came in, and I told her, I'm like, these are two words that we're thinking of: parlay and basement. We explained to her what parlay is, which is
Parlay is basically a conference between opposing sides in a dispute, especially discussion or terms for armistice, or to hold a conference with opposing side to discuss terms. Basically, it's just like,
two people having a conversation trying to come together.
yeah. So me and Jonathan have a lot of the same views, but also a lot of different views. Like, I'm never gonna enjoy K-pop no matter how much he pushes it on me.
I'm gonna keep pushing though.
um, I mean, like, I can see where you're coming. Like, it's not bad, but I want to understand what these people are saying.
Yeah,
And I don't speak.
Korean,
Is it Korean? Oh, we have K-pop.
K-pop.
Duh. I don't speak Korean. God, I don't know why I just blank like that. I'm stupid. I'm sorry. I'm um I'm having one of those days. I woke up with well, I went to sleep last night with a migraine and I woke up with a migraine, and all day I've been like absolutely just like the dumbest person ever because my brain hasn't gotten all the way together. I'm still looking up different words for or
Different
definitions.
definitions.
Also we picked parlay because I'm a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan, and I was really excited that
Yeah, and Kieran
that's a
Adley's like parlay.
that we can use that word in my everyday life now. Awesome.
And so Carissa, my wife, came down and she was like, "Oh, a parlay in the basement, like a party in the basement." So that's why we have the poppy fun music in the beginning, and yeah, so basically we're just gonna, well, like we said on our Portkey cast, when we announced it on there, if we're just gonna go with this and see how long we do it, and if we get listens, and this one's more, we're probably gonna push more for listeners on this one, um, but it's just our conversation that we normally have.
Oh, parlay is also French for talk. Um,
Yeah,
so I did take French in high school. I did not take Spanish or Korean.
I took Spanish in high school. That was it.
And Jonathan is also Cuban and
Cuban.
doesn't know any
I don't know
Spanish.
Spanish, so please do not ask me to help you with my Spanish homework. A lot of the kids I work with. Let's talk about ourselves for a second. Alicia, go ahead and talk
Oh
about
God,
yourself for a minute. What you do for a living, what you come from, your background, everything like
first
that.
of all, I hate doing this. This is like an interview right now, and that's like the worst part of interviews when people are like, "Oh, tell me about yourself," and I'm like, "What do you want to know?" That's a very broad topic. Um, but I can do a little bit. So I'm from New Jersey originally. I move around way too much. So I've lived in 5 states, 4 or 5, no, 4. I've lived in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, uh, Kentucky,
Florida.
Florida. So I moved from New Jersey to Philly, back to New Jersey to Kentucky, back to New Jersey to Florida, back to Kentucky.
Yeah.
New Jersey's not something like everyone is probably like, oh, you keep moving back to New Jersey, you obviously like it there. No, I don't. I moved back to New Jersey when I absolutely have no other choices or when I want to save up money to move somewhere else. And I'm sorry for any of my family who happen to watch this. This sounds really mean. It's not anything about you all. I just don't like New Jersey. It's too expensive. I would literally never be able to live comfortably like I do here and not have to be at my parents' house because New Jersey's way, way, way more expensive. I have most of my friends who aren't, married are still living with their parents there or, just getting their first apartments where my first apartment happened when I was 18 and I've had more apartments than I can count now. And
You
yeah,
have a Kentucky necklace.
yeah, I've had this for a while.
She considers Kentucky home.
I bought this when I moved to Florida and I came here to visit and I saw that and I was like, oh, I really like that. And like, it's just a little thing for, for Kentucky because I do enjoy living in Kentucky. Jonathan lives in Indiana. So we're in Indiana right now. Maybe
It's on the border.
I feel like I always like think that I lived in Indiana and I have never lived in Indiana, but it's like the same thing.
This area that we're in currently is called Kentuckiana. So
Yeah, it's
take that
not.
for what you want.
Oh my God. I was talking to, speaking of, to veer off a little bit.
But that's
One
the
of,
purpose of this podcast, so
yeah,
we can do these
my
veer offs.
my friend Liz, um, she is from Philly, and well,
The one
she's
who could have a job in Louisville if she wanted one.
yes,
Okay.
she just got a promotion today. So Liz, whenever you're ready to come out to Kentucky, your building is like a half mile from my apartment, and we can have anxiety together forever. Um, so she was talking about the controversy with the high school up in northern Kentucky,
Covington.
Covington Catholic.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's on the border of Ohio.
Yes. Well, we were talking about that, and she was like, "Well, honestly, like these kids, if no one knows what happened, basically they went to DC, and there was a video that was showing that they were being, they were
Rude or
wearing,
antagonizing.
they were saying that they were being racist and antagonizing these Native Americans. And they're saying it's not what happened, and everyone else is saying it is. And whether that's true or not, I was just discussing it with one of my friends because it was something that I was like, oh yeah, I know this high school, and it really surprised me that um, that's what it's being displayed as, because I've met a lot of people from there, because a lot of those kids go to U of L, and I've
Yeah.
never had that vibe from any of the kids that I've met from there. So it just kind of like surprised me. It took me off guard. And she said, "Well, I'm not really surprised. Kentucky's pretty conservative, and And I was like, "Well, I mean, like, it's right outside of Cincinnati, so like, Cincinnati's another city that's like you wouldn't think of that."
Yeah,
And
you don't think of Cincinnati as being conservative.
yeah, so, like, you wouldn't really think of that. Like, I've been to Cincinnati many times, and it's.
Most major cities are pretty liberal,
Yeah.
I would say.
Um, and she was like, she's like, Cincinnati's in Ohio. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, are you talking about a different Cincinnati? And I was like, no, it's Cincinnati, like Ohio. And she was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And I was like, you know that the Cincinnati airport is in Kentucky. And she was like, no, I didn't know that they were anywhere near each other.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's like Philly and Camden, or you know, like New York and God, even what is it?
Hoboken.
Secaucus. Secaucus.
Where's Hoboken?
Hoboken's up there too.
Okay, I thought it was up there.
Yeah.
You saw how much confidence I had when I
Yeah.
said it. I was like,
Yeah.
Hoboken.
Hoboken's up there too. Secaucus is where like
What about
Secaucus is generally where you take the train from. Like
Okay.
that's the closest stop to Penn Station.
Where did we get it from when we went up that one time? Do you remember?
I didn't go up with you.
I was like, I went with
That was-
Josh and Nicole.
And Nicole, yeah. I didn't, thank God I didn't go to that because it sounded miserable.
Yeah, it was cold and rainy, and we kind of could see the.
They went for New Year's.
Oh yeah, we went for New Year's
in Times Square, which is a terrible idea.
We were pretty far away, but if you kind of went like this, you could see the ball drop.
Okay, so what happens at everyone, like, they don't really show this on camera, but basically what happens at Times Square for New Year's is they rope you into little sections.
Yeah, we were not doing that.
Stand there, and you cannot leave that spot for the entire day. And if you have to pee, then you lose your spot and you have to go all the way to the back. So, like, that's not the ideal situation for New Year's. And New York and New Year's is very cold and it's very windy, and you're basically in a giant wind tunnel because of all the buildings. I would never want to. Like, I've never done it. And, like, as much as it seems cool, the only way that I would do that is I would go to New York and I wouldn't go to Times Square. I would go to New York and be at a bar for New Year's. And
that's what we ended up doing. We walked around New York for a little bit,
well,
and
Nicole
then
wasn't 21 yet, so she didn't have a good time.
Oh yeah, that's right. She couldn't drink.
Yeah.
But we still got in.
Yeah.
We walked around for a little bit. We oh yeah, because we went to the when we went to Atlantic City, she couldn't gamble.
That's another place I don't like, is Atlantic City.
But we walked around the city for a little bit. Then we found a spot where you could see the ball. So we stood there for about an hour, and then we were like, "Fuck this!" So we went to near Madison Square Garden. We went to a bar, and we were there for New Year's, and it was fine. We had a good night. Not the best New Year's I had. The best New Year's I've had so far still was I went to DC with my friend Ryan, and it was on a whim. I called him. I was like, "Hey man, I wanted to go, right? I wanted to go to DC." So I called him and I was like, "Hey man, we lived together. He just wasn't at home. He was, I don't know where, I thought it was in Indy because he's from Indy originally. And I called him and I was like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" He was like, "Oh, I'm driving to Baltimore." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you driving to Baltimore for?" And he told me, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be here for New Year's and whatever." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to DC for New Year's. I'll meet you there." He was like, "Oh yeah, for sure." So I fly into Baltimore, I pick him up, and we go to like the 31st. I'm traveling on the 31st. I fly to Baltimore, I pick him up. We go to DC for New Year's. We're hanging out on the Lincoln Memorial steps, and we saw this. First we went to dinner. We had a really good dinner at some restaurant. I don't remember what it was called, but it was really good, and they had like a deal for New Year's. Like you paid, I think it was like $60, and you got it's one of those specific menus, right? But the food was really good, and it was actually a really good price. Cause I think if we would have ordered that much food at that restaurant on a normal day, it probably went like $100, to be honest. $100 each.
My whole issue with New Year's is that everything costs more money than it should.
Well,
and in your situation, maybe it didn't.
It did. I was pretty sure it did. I was like, this is a good deal. We should do this.
Yeah, because
because we were walking around. We literally like parked somewhere, and then we were just walking around, and we saw this restaurant that was we were dressed relatively decent. You know, we weren't
Mhm.
dressed like we weren't dressed in
Places
suits
in
or nothing.
DC will literally a lot of places in DC, if you're not dressed correctly, you cannot come in.
Oh
And I
yeah,
remember like they used to have Battle at the Capitol like actually right around
yeah,
DC, and uh, we tried to go in after competition in our cheerleading uniforms, and a lot of places turned us down.
yeah. They're very well because you got to think about it,
Yeah,
that's where the countries ran from.
and they have a lot of business people that are
Yeah,
around there, and like it's obviously like, but like as cheerleaders leaving a competition, we were like, man, we just want to eat. Like,
yeah.
what the hell? So we all ended up with like McDonald's or something.
Well, what happened next was we went to after we ate. Like Ryan hadn't been to DC since he was a kid, so I can do the main things you need to see, like the main like memorials and stuff in DC within an hour. I could walk you from. I used to go to DC all the time because I dated a girl who went to Georgetown,
Hmm.
so I would go up to DC and while she was in class, I just walk around. Um, and so we did all that, and then we decided to bring in the new year on the Lincoln Memorial steps, you know, and so we're seeing there was a good amount of people, but not too many people, and everyone starts counting 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, yay, happy New Year, and this Asian guy gets up, makes his girlfriend stand up.
Oh no.
He gets
I'm
down on
already
one,
embarrassed.
he starts to get down on one knee, and she's picking him up, saying, "No, no, 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 no." And he pulls out the ring,
Oh
and you could
no.
see like it wasn't like a oh my god he's gonna do it. It was more like a oh my god he's doing it. Like you could tell it was a big difference. And so she just like it might have been like a minute and a half, but it felt like an
Oh
hour.
my god.
Ryan and I are sitting there
Especially
watching them like, oh my god, oh my, because she's not saying anything, and she just has her mouth covered. And so finally, she just kind of like nods her head just a little bit, and he hugs her. And everyone's like, "Woo!" And then she
and then she
grabs
probably
him.
took him back to the hotel room and was like,
Well,
"Nah, we're not doing that."
do you know how if you've never been to a Lincoln Memorial, underneath the Lincoln Memorial is like a little museum of how like it got built and everything like that. She like drags him into there, like you see him run around and drag him into there. We were literally like,
That's so awkward.
it was pretty awesome actually. But that was a good New Year's.
Uh,
Um,
New Year's around here is like way overblown. Like everything's way too expensive. You're like going to Fourth Street Live.
I mean, we did Howl at the Moon. It was
You
fun.
did Hat the Moon, but you didn't do the bar crawl that they
No, I
advertise,
wouldn't
where
do
it's
that.
way too expensive. And like,
That was like
yeah, and
$175.
Fourth Street's not even popular anymore. So like,
No, it wasn't. The same thing we see at Howl at the Moon every single time we go
yeah, is what you
is
saw.
what you saw. So we said, let's ring in the New Year's like
Yeah,
that. And it
and
was
those people
fun.
were probably a friggin' mess.
Oh my God.
Um, yeah, for New Year's I went to a Gatsby theme party, and uh it was exciting. Like everyone was dressed as it. They had it's on Whiskey Row, so they had like the cellar with the prohibition style
Hmm.
looking, and they had like barrels down there, and everyone looked so good, and I was all excited. And they had a freaking live band play covers of really sad songs instead of just going with 1920s music that you could have got on like, you know, for anywhere, and just
Spotify, iTunes,
yeah,
whatever.
literally just let it play and everyone would have been happy. No, they had this lame freaking band that was so bad, and all they did was play the saddest songs that you could ever think of. It was bad.
No, there's a good cover band called Rod Tough Curls in the bench press. They're from Chicago and they go to Bloomington all the time. So we used to go see. And that's a big deal when they show up at like Bloomington loves this band. So like when Rod Tough Girls is coming, the entire fucking college shows up. These guys are old. These guys are like my age,
Oh yeah.
right? And the entire fucking college shows up at Bluebird. I only got to see them twice, but they went there at least in the 4 years I lived in Bloomington. I did not go to IU. I just happened to live in Bloomington for 4 years. The 4 years that I lived there, I saw them like three times. I tried to see them. They went there like five or six times. I tried to see them every single time they went, but I only got to see them three times because they were sold out. And it was nuts. Like it was the last two times I went, I paid instead of paying $20 for the cover, I paid $50, which got me a table. So I was like, oh, I'm not a struggling college student. I have a
Yeah.
job that makes money.
I'm gonna use that.
I'm gonna use it. So I bought a table so I could actually see them. But they're really good. They're a cover band. They're a lot of fun.
I'm weird about live music because it's really hit or miss. Like either the band really is not hitting the mark with the crowd, or it's great. Um,
It all depends on how many drinks people have.
Unfortunately, had the not so great experience too many times. And did you have a live band for your wedding?
No, we wanted to get Rod Tough Curls at the bench press, but they're like 10 grand, and we said no.
yeah, if I ever do that and get married, uh no live band for me.
My
The
buddy,
live band is gonna be a strict no. I'm not into it.
my buddy Mark Bryan, he DJ'd
I know who
the
Mark Bryan
ah.
is.
If you don't know who Mark Bryan is, if you've ever seen the Bring It On movies, the music that they used to compete to, the cheerleaders competed to, Mark Bryan made that
Mark
music.
Bryan used to do all of my cheer music when I was at Spirit Explosion, and I believe for my rec team also, because my mom had that connection from coaching at Spirit
Yeah,
Explosion for so long, or New Jersey Spirit,
yeah.
or
He had
South Jersey Lightning, or my mom's original team name was South Jersey Lightning.
no,
That was the gym that she actually founded.
no.
Yeah,
Um,
and now she coaches at South Jersey Storm, and they are not interrelated in any way.
I told him, I said, "Look, man, I'm going to invite you to the wedding, and I'm sure you're going to come. So you can either come and enjoy yourself with your family, or you can come and be the DJ." And he was like, "Well, more often than not, I like to. If I'm at a party, I prefer to be the DJ." I was like, "Well, then there you go. You don't have to be." I'm like, "Don't worry. They said they have somebody," and he was like, "No, they're going to be a bad wedding DJ." So he came and he DJ'd, and I was like, "Man, just make it a party. Just have fun with it. We don't have like we have 3 songs that my wife
Leave the
requested.
cheesy stuff out.
Yeah, we
That's
had
what I'd
3
say.
songs that my wife requested, and
The
that was it.
normal like 3 songs, like first dance
Yeah,
kind
that
of
kind of crap.
songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's normal. But as far
Well,
as
actually,
like
our first dance, my friend Jordan Goldsmith sang. He sang "All of Me" by John Legend, which I didn't want him to sing, but that's what she wanted. I was like, "What the fuck? Why did we have to be so stereotypical? We're not a stereotypical couple at all.
but maybe she's like that song. I mean, I can see it
It's a good song. Look,
because you're a smartass, and that's kind of your relationship, I guess.
I don't know, but we had our friend Jordan sing it because he sang to her for our engagement. Um, it's a great singer. He's really good. He's
You're cheesy.
he's a good guy too. I like him a lot.
You're cheesy.
I am. It was nice. It was a nice little thing. So what we are going to do on this podcast, other than just talk shit to each other, is we are gonna have specific topics. Mine was New Found Glory and Huey Lewis in the
We're about to go
News.
down a rabbit hole with mine, guys.
So
Okay, Jonathan's was real simple.
because I didn't
Mine,
prepare anything, so I was just
I
talking
didn't
about
really
what was on
prepare
my mind
anything.
either.
This is literally just something that fell into my lap, and I was just like,
Where's my flashlight
"There's
on?
gonna." I might as well get my phone because we're gonna go pretty deep down into this. Gotta unplug. Leave my bank needs to leave me alone. They keep emailing me saying that I enrolled in bill pay and I didn't. I don't pay my bills. No, I'm kidding. I pay my bills in the normal way, not by their banking app. Um, okay, so this is like a touchy subject to begin with, so I'm gonna just like kind of stay in the middle as to like how it all came up. But it's vaccine related, and whether you are for vaccines and you aren't for vaccines, like that's your business. And um, my opinions and your opinions don't have to be the same because we don't know. It's not illegal to not get vaccinated. So I won't say which one I am because it's none of your business. But I did come across a meme just because there's been a lot of vaccine related memes that have been coming up lately, and some of them are really, really, really offensive, and some of them are kind of funny. And um, but this one that came up was a tweet from someone, and it says Balto didn't bust his ass across the Alaskan tundra in 1925 to get those vaccines for dying children for you to send your kids to school without being vaccinated in 2019. And regardless of my thoughts about this tweet per se, I am really into animated movies, mostly Disney. I watch Disney movies all the time, and like that might make me a 5-year-old, but I have the movie Balto, and I never realized that that's what that movie was about. That it was about carrying vaccines. Like I knew that he had some long dog sled journey across Alaska, and I haven't seen that movie in forever. And I said I was going to watch it before we did this so I could compare it, but I didn't.
I knew you weren't going to.
Dude, and like I don't remember the last couple of days I've just been like going down rabbit holes, but um, and the amount of people that have FaceTime me in the last couple of days has been like absurd.
Cool.
Like
You
it's
don't you
usually
don't like
only
to
you,
call people. You
but
only
it's
like to FaceTime people.
but it's usually only you, and like I feel like I FaceTime way too many people in the last couple of days. Um, but I did FaceTime Jonathan because I was trying so hard. I was not going to bring this topic up so that we had it to talk about. And then I got so far down this fucking rabbit hole that I was like, no, I have to call Jonathan right now because this is insanity. And luckily, he had some kind of knowledge on the topic. But um, I will get into basically for anyone who doesn't know the story of Balto. I don't have the movie to compare it to because I didn't watch the movie again, like I said I was going to, and I also didn't watch the other movie that I said I was going to. But that's because it was gonna cost me money, and
What
I
was
was
the
too
other
lazy.
movie?
I'll get there.
Okay.
That's like way down the line in my 6 hour journey of Balto. This started out as Balto. So I was really curious as to the whole Balto thing, and also for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm like weirdly obsessed with Alaska because I want to know what goes on there. Like, what do people do in Alaska when they live there?
What do you do? What do you do?
I mean, like that's completely different because they have like a month of just straight up darkness.
They still go to
I
work
don't.
and stuff.
Yeah, I know that they go to work, but like I don't even want to leave the house in the dark. And I know that like for me, if it gets that's part of the reason I don't like working 9 to 5 jobs is because I feel like I'm going to the work in the dark and I'm coming home in the dark and I don't want to leave my house after that. I don't want to go grocery shopping. I just feel like it's too late and like I go to bed really early because I'm like the freaking crypt keeper or something. But I go to sleep really early. My job requires me to be in at work at 6 a.m. Um, So I'm like weirdly obsessed with Alaska, and every time I talk to my friend Carly about it, she's like, she literally is like, okay, like you really need to stop. So I am planning a trip to Alaska though next year. Um,
My father-in-law went to Alaska.
did he? What did he do there?
Fish.
What part of Alaska did he
I
go
don't
to?
know.
All right,
Not
and
not
also
where not
okay,
where you're about to talk about. No.
okay. Well, my obsession with Alaska also fed into this whole thing because this town in particular that Balto was delivering the vaccines to is like particularly weird to me. But so basically, the story of Balto is in 1925, um, in Nome, Alaska, there was a diphtheria outbreak, which is a disease that basically it kind of like sounded similar to extreme strep throat, like your voice gets real hoarse and you get like white patches in your throat, but it can lead to like paralysis and um there's also like skin versions of it where you can get like lesions in your skin, and I accidentally came across a picture of that and it was disgusting. um so there was this outbreak and they realized that there was going to be an epidemic because all these kids in this town weren't vaccinated for it, so they needed to get this vaccine. But the only place that they had the vaccine was in Anchorage, which is by flight like 550 miles, but there are no roads to this town in Nome, Alaska because the landscape in Alaska obviously isn't the greatest because it's mostly covered in snow. And, you know,
Forest
yeah,
and mountains.
it's not ideal to have a road there. Um so what they did was they only had I think 6 days before this vaccine would go bad if it wasn't held in the correct conditions. So they had about 6 days to get it from Anchorage to Nome. Um which was like unheard of. The shortest distance or the shortest time that they had done it before was like 10 days. So they need to do it an extra quick way. So they took the vaccine and put it on a train from Anchorage to I don't know how to say this name. It's like Nene, Alaska. It's like right outside of Fairbanks.
Nena.
Ne. I think that's what it was.
Ninani.
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 That could be. It sounds like something they would have up there. Um okay, so they took it to we're gonna say Ninani. It could be right.
I apologize if we're incorrect.
It's a little bit outside of Fairbanks. And then in this town, they set up a dog sled relay, basically, where they would go and the team would take this vaccine on one leg of the relay and pass it to another, and then pass it to another. And this is where Balto comes in to the story because he was on, I believe, the second to last leg. So they dog sledded this vaccine all the way to Nome. And like to me that's like the most fascinating thing because like what the hell, like you literally dog sledded stuff. Um, they Balto ended up doing like 2 legs of the journey, which is pretty much how he got famous because he got the vaccine there sooner than expected, and everyone made a big deal. And it was actually a big controversy apparently because the other dog was called uh, Togo or something similar, and he actually had the most dangerous part. Um, but basically, there was a lot of controversy, and um, so then I got to the end of that.
Mind you, remember this is a real story.
Yeah, this is a real story, and I had no. I feel like I knew that it was a real story, but I didn't know what actually happened. So this is what actually
Have you
happened.
looked up pictures of Balto?
Yeah, he was decently cute. He was a husky. He was a
Yeah,
Siberian
cute.
husky.
They're very different. You can see how the evolution of how they've
They're very dark, and or he's very dark, like a darker brownish
mhm,
almost. Um,
selective breeding. That's how it's crazy when you think about it, but continue, I apologize.
yeah, no, you can cut in whenever. That's what we're here for. So
Balto, the hero of Alaska.
dude, I looked up this trail still exists and they still have dog races, like dog sled races from Anchorage to this town up this trail, which is kind of how I got more. And I was like, okay, let me research a little bit about this town because I want to know how they got themselves in the situation that there's no roads. It's 2019 and there are still no roads to this town. So you still cannot drive to this town to this day. 100 years after this whole thing happened, you can only fly there, which in Alaska, especially in 1925, you couldn't do because the planes weren't made for that. Even now, it's probably we ground flights for less.
Yeah.
Um, so then I started going down this rabbit hole with Nome, and uh, Nome is obviously a really small town, and I was just looking up what goes on there. And here is where we get to the part where Jonathan yelled at me because Nome also has a very large um
Extraterrestrial
ex-
activity.
yes, they have like more UFO sightings and random disappearances than almost anywhere. Here we go with the lights turning off.
Well,
Jonathan's
this
lights
happened. This happened
Jonathan's
later than normal.
Jonathan's lights like to turn off on us because he has it set on a uh motion sensor base.
Yeah. So what happens is that like after a certain amount of time, it'll ask like, oh, it doesn't detect any motion because we have Nest, so we have some cameras and we have the Nest alarm.
It's probably because I went upstairs and then you went upstairs. I went
Yeah.
upstairs like twice after and then
Yeah.
you
Then
went
it caught
upstairs.
us. Yeah. So typically it happens during the port key cast, but it did not happen this time. So I'm just gonna go ahead and turn. Okay. Okay, Google, turn the studio lights to 100%, please.
Okay, setting floor lights brightness to 100%.
This happens to us all the time.
Yes.
Um we also
As we start talking about aliens.
as we're talking about aliens, the lights start turning off, and Jonathan's yelling at me because he does not want this to be an alien podcast.
I
And
have no problem talking about aliens. I'm very
okay,
interested in
listen,
extraterrestrial life.
everything leads to aliens. And okay, so anyway, I'll go back. We'll get there because
Aliens. Have you ever seen Ancient Aliens?
no.
Oh, there's this guy with crazy hair. Hold on, continue. I'm gonna show you.
Okay, so um, basically, I start looking, and the fifth thing down, it says no Alaska UFO, and I was like, oh my god, here we go. And I start looking it up, and they have like an odd number of UFO sightings and random disappearances to the point where the FBI stepped in. And this was the other movie I wanted to watch because they made a movie called The Fourth Kind,
Yeah.
and it's about that town. And this all happened within like 6 hours of research because I wanted to know about Balto.
They use this guy as a meme all the time, but he talks about Ancient Aliens.
Okay, so and the whole thing with this podcast, Jonathan's wanted to do this for a while, and then I saw a podcast, and of course they happened to start with aliens, and they like did a whole bunch of other things, and then they came back to aliens. So now Jonathan's convinced that I'm obsessed with aliens, but I just really find it interesting.
I think I saw 2009. I believe I saw this movie. I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna rewatch it though, just so I can know.
The fourth kind, or
Yeah, the
that
fourth
one?
kind. I believe I've seen the
I
fourth
have
kind
not
before.
seen it, and I've heard that it's like a psychological kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, because they talk on a couch as opposed to like it's not like I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure I saw it because whenever alien movies come, I never cared about aliens growing up, right?
Okay, me either, but now I find them fascinating just because not that I think that they're are aliens that have already been on this planet, but there's definitely something else out there. Like we're not the only ones. There's nothing.
Well,
There's
when you look at
no way. But it doesn't have to be that someone that's like us.
look at this bird. Look at this bird. Okay, you can't tell me.
I think did you did you post this earlier of something about alien life and it's like some bird with this weird thing on his
Yes.
head
Look at it. That thing's a fucking
and he like turns his head all the way around.
Yeah, that thing's a fucking alien. Listen, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know per se. Like, there's different types of aliens. Like, you have the lizard aliens, and you have the grays, and you have these ones that are kind of like they look like humans, but they're like blonde hair, blue eyes, and like they have like a gold glow around them. There's supposed to be like three types of aliens that are known to have visited Earth. Right. This is from the alien community. I don't per se believe in this. I don't also say. Here's my thing about aliens. I don't know.
I don't know either. But my whole thing with the Alaska thing, before we go way
Into
down
aliens?
before we go down way down the line with aliens, because this is honestly I was researching Balto and I just thought it was an interesting topic, and then I got to aliens. So I'm sorry. Um, but
The top
Alaska
the name of this episode is going to be anti-vaxxer aliens? Question mark.
question mark. So if there were to have already been UFOs and aliens that came into the world and were in the United States per se, this would be the perfect location because it's cut off from all civilization. And if they started doing that thing where, they're like, blending into the people and they kind of were to look like us, that would be the perfect place to do it because if someone just randomly shows up, who the fuck's gonna ever know?
Yeah.
So that could be like, if that was a thing, I'm not saying it is or isn't because I don't really know where I stand with that. I'm very middle of the fence about everything. Like I kind of see it either way. That would be the perfect place to do it because like no one's really gonna know.
So
It's not like they're gonna show up in the middle of New York City and everyone's like, who the fuck? Well, I guess New York City would still be like that too. But if they started trying to like blend into New York City, people would be like, no, what the fuck? Like who? Like you're obviously aliens. Like what are you doing? Whereas Nome, Alaska, they can it's a smaller town. They can work their way in.
well, the thing is, like, for me with aliens is, first of all, when I moved to Indiana, I'm originally from Miami. When I moved to Indiana, I thought for sure I was going to see aliens because, like, my first like week I was here and I saw how much nothing there is. I'm like, there's a fucking UFO out there. I don't know.
There's for sure gonna be crop circles around here.
Yeah, because there's so much fucking corn and shit everywhere. I was like, oh my god, this place is definitely going to be a UFO heaven. But I don't know if there's aliens or not. You can show me some proof that you consider facts that I can go with you on that journey and say, yeah, this looks real.
I
At
just
the same
find it
time,
interesting.
at the same time, you can show me stuff that disputes it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's true too. I think that if it happened here, if you and I are here today, sitting here talking on microphones with fairy lights and iPads and recording this out to the whole entire population, that anybody in the world can watch this, right?
Mhm.
Except in China because they have a different YouTube, so they don't get to watch this. Why, if it can happen here, why can't it happen somewhere else? At the same time,
Okay, have there never been any other UFO sightings anywhere else other than like?
no, there's been UFO. I'm saying, like, if we can evolve to this point
Mhm.
on Earth in our galaxy, why can't this happen at a different planet in a different galaxy?
Mhm.
I don't see why it couldn't.
Oh,
And
yeah.
sure, maybe they don't look like us. Maybe they don't look like grays or the lizard aliens or something like that. Maybe they're not sentinel upright things like walking around. But have you ever seen fucking fish? Have you ever seen some of those fucking fish? If I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
know,
Like the ocean fish, like the
yeah,
like
deep sea ocean fish.
Yeah.
If I didn't know that they came from Earth, right? And
Oh, yeah,
someone told
for
me that
sure.
shit was an alien, they found that shit on Mars. Like, if the Mars rover that just died, did you hear about this?
Yes, it was
So
so
sad.
sad. It
Battery's
was-
low. It's getting dark.
Oh, that's so freaking sad.
Wally.
Oh my god, stop. Okay,
But if you put
did I tell you about this?
hold on.
Oh wait, no.
If you superimposed a picture, right, a fish, right, and somehow made it look, I don't know, Photoshop, whatever, from that thing, right, and a fish from the deep sea that we know, and we're like, bro, they came from here, I would believe it, because fish are crazy looking.
Dude, there's so many species of fish that we have not found just because of how big and vast and deep the ocean is, that like we're discovering new species every day. So if we can't even find all the shit that's in our own planet, what makes you think that we are even close to finding
I mean,
something that's
look at some animals we have too. Like, obviously, like, this is how when people tell me that dinosaurs didn't exist, I'm like, have you ever seen an emu? Or have you
Oh,
ever seen
yeah,
an
for sure.
ostrich?
That's-
Have you?
that's-
There's a go on with what you're gonna tell me about Wally. Let me show you this. Let me show you this
Oh.
bird.
It was just a random fact that I'm a huge Disney nerd and I have never seen Wally, and it kind of ruins my reputation.
Oh, just it's a really good movie.
I just
Have you seen The Good Dinosaur?
yes,
That's a good. That I told Carissa.
that movie is really sad actually.
It is. I told Carissa that she needs tissues when we went to it because I heard it was really sad,
Hmm.
and she was like, it's a Pixar movie. I was like, okay, and she's like literally
Bawling.
bawling. I own it, so if you want to watch it again, tell me this doesn't look like a goddamn dinosaur.
Well, yeah, dinosaurs are especially like
Well, they come
now.
from birds.
Yeah, they're finding that they're more directly related to birds than anything. Did you see the other day that they found a dinosaur tail that was perfectly preserved in amber and
Yeah,
it
with
has feathers?
feathers. Yeah, but I'm saying, look at this thing. This thing is fucking crazy looking.
This thing off the top of his head. I want to know what the purpose for this thing off the top of his head is, which is how we
We're
know
talking about a what's the name of this bird? Cassowary.
cassoway. All right,
A
well,
cassowary from Australia.
so this is
They're
where
blue and red. They got this giant like shark fin on their thing. Like
since we're on YouTube, we can drop links. But we
it's
gotta,
a little different because we have to go into the chat and stuff like that. It's a whole thing.
it's a whole thing. Well, if
When
we
I
can figure it out, then we can put some links in. Not right now.
I think we can do it in the chat, live chat, all messages. Yeah, we can do it right there. Okay, well it's a little late into it now, so we'll do it.
Okay, so we'll
We can do it in the bot. We can do it. We can
Australian
do it in the
dinosaur.
in the description.
Yeah,
When I'm done with when we're done, we can do it in the description. Oop, what did I just hit? No, that was you.
I didn't hit anything.
It was me right here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't. I want
Um,
to know what this thing on there. This is how I do this because I see a picture of a bird and I want to know what the purpose of
a lot of it's for sex.
this thing on his head. It looks like he's about to headbutt. It like those old dinosaurs that they said had that thing on their head.
I had to hit each other, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
But when people tell me that dinosaurs didn't exist, I'm like, have you seen a cassowary? Have you seen this bird?
It looks exactly like that dinosaur.
Have you seen a fucking alligator?
Okay.
So yeah, so back to aliens though, back to aliens. But so if you told me like okay, did we talk about the I know it was Chris I talked about. Do you know what the time traveler's paradox is? So there's two paradoxes with time traveling, right? That I've heard. Um, there's one about aliens and one about like time travel. So I'll talk about the one about aliens second. So the traveler's paradox is if time travel was to exist, right? There's only so far back you can go before you, with all your diseases that you carry that they don't have vaccines for, would kill off the entire population. Not maybe like the whole earth. It would be like the Black Plague where it killed off a shit ton of people.
Mhm.
And there's also so far before you can go forward in time before you find a new disease that you are not vaccinated for, you do not have an immunity for or an antibody built up for before it kills you. So if time travel did exist, right?
Mhm.
There's only so far back they could go and only so far forward they can go. So it's saying like, oh, maybe the strain of flu that we have today doesn't exist in the year 4523, right? So they can't come back to our time because they don't have vaccines for it anymore.
Hmm.
Right? So something like that. That's like a thought. Okay. Then there's also the one that like any UFO sighting. Yes.
This is the for sure the answer.
We are
dinosaur.
we are Ross Geller paleontologists here.
This is obviously this dinosaur. Okay. Go ahead.
So the other paradox is that any time travel, any UFO or aliens that we have seen, right, that have been documented, are actual time travelers coming back. That's the other theory.
Interesting.
That's the
That
other
would-
theory of it.
That would be.
And that's why they're experimenting on us to see like there's like a disease or something in the future that's coming from like
Mhm.
that's like they're trying to find the carrier or so they can fix it.
Speaking-
That's another theory that's been put out
Speaking
there.
of diseases that have pretty much like been played out that we don't really have anymore, did you see the video of one of the last living guys with an iron lung
Oh yeah.
and how like basically if polio comes back, we don't have anyone who knows how to work on that.
No.
So like they're basically gonna have to reinvent the iron lung. This guy that's been like working on his iron lung is gonna become friggin' loaded
Wait, because
this guy
he had
comes
like a
back.
mechanic like working on
Yeah,
it.
he had a mechanic working on it, and he had no idea. He literally just like has been guessing basically
Yeah.
to keep this guy alive.
He's like, well, this is broken,
And they don't have the parts.
and then he's like,
Yeah, they don't have the parts to fix this, so they have to make the parts, and like they don't really know what they're doing, and no one
there's no instruction manuals. The
Yeah.
companies that made them don't exist
and
anymore.
like no one knows how to do it. So this guy's literally just guessing. So if polio were to come back, this guy would be loaded because he's the only person who even like has the
The
faintest
faintest idea of
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 how to work on
how it
that.
works. Yeah, polio is scary. Like I've seen pictures and videos of people with polio, and it's not something I want to have.
Oh, yeah, he said that within 5 days he was completely paralyzed from the
Yeah,
neck down.
it's scary.
That is terrifying. Like 5 days, I've let sicknesses go later just because I don't feel like going to the doctor.
Oh yeah. I get a cough and I'm like, whatever, fuck it. Like I said earlier today, I told you I had a pain in my stomach. I thought it was appendicitis.
And you were like, well, it's the end.
I was like,
Now you know.
whatever. I mean, as long as it doesn't
That's the
explode.
problem is I do that because healthcare now is so expensive, and like I just don't even want to think about the money that I'm gonna have to put out.
Well, for me, it's not even about that because we have good health insurance. I know your health insurance is going to kick in soon.
Yeah,
But like,
I had good health insurance with when I was working with Chewy, and when I got bronchitis, which wasn't really bronchitis, it was literally just my lungs not working. All of my appointment and my medication cost me like $13.
yeah.
But as right now, like I hurt my arm from I don't even know what, but basically I think I damaged a nerve in my arm because it hurts
Well,
from like
I'm gonna go
going
down the
back and
health
forth.
insurance rabbit hole for a second,
But
even though we're falling far from aliens. Um, I don't think that I don't think it's impossible for us to have a system where, okay, I for one don't believe in universal health care because I don't believe in high taxes. I have a tax issue. I pay very high taxes because I'm self-employed and I don't like that. Right? Because me taking my life into my own hands and creating
my thing isn't health insurance. Why is healthcare so fucking expensive to begin
because
with?
insurance makes it expensive.
I
Here, let me
understand.
tell you.
I mean, I understand. What? No, it's good. I was trying to like move it around so I could see this
Yeah.
crazy bird still. But my issue is like how much money is it going to cost me to get my arm looked at because
well, like
I don't want to destroy my
when
arm.
you have good insurance, right?
Mhm.
You stuff like your doctor visits like $13. Everything's super cheap and very affordable. But so there needs to be a government system where why is
literally this bird?
my sound on?
Look at this thing. That is literally the
Yes, we get it.
that bird. I keep finding more and more that I'm like, wow.
Like if there is a system where it's like you can opt into it, right? Like and it comes off your taxes, right? You put your social security in, and mind you, your social security number was never supposed to be a situation where they use it as an identification, but that's a whole nother tangent I'll get on. You put your social security number and you get X amount of dollars taken out of your paycheck every single month, like a normal health insurance, right? And now you're on a national health insurance, like Medicaid or Medicare, you can call it whatever you want, right? And you give your card and that's it, right? It comes right off your head. It's just like any other thing, except this time it's government subsidized, where they're using this giant government base to give like any other insurance, how insurance works, right? A lot of people buy into it, and that's what helps drive the cost downs of things, right? So that's how insurance works. And Potter Night, Louisville, February 23rd. I'm out of town. If
Wait,
there that's this weekend.
Oh, I'm out of town too.
So if there was a way to do that, I'd be 100% for it. But for you to tell me that
No, that's Saturday. I'm still down. Go ahead.
if you tell me that, hey, we're gonna take your taxes, right? We're gonna charge you 3% more in taxes. So we can afford healthcare for everybody. All right, cool. We already do that. That's it comes out. It's Medicare, right? Your Medicare taxes come out. We already do that. But people who are perfectly healthy and working and their company just doesn't happen to offer healthcare, there needs to be a system where they can pay into it and they can get healthcare at a cheaper price than that. Because I've been on that end where I didn't have I'm self-employed. So up until the fact that, I got married and I got on my wife's healthcare, I paid for my own healthcare out of pocket and it was expensive.
Yeah, healthcare out of your pocket.
It was expensive as hell.
I didn't realize that that's how it was until like my first job that I was offered healthcare was when I was working at Jason's Deli, And I was like, well, like maybe I don't want this coming out of my paycheck. Maybe I'll just see like what my other options are. Hell no. My
Yeah.
other options were ridiculous. It was going to charge me like $300 a month for healthcare, and like
That's what happened to me with
I was making
Obamacare.
when I first started making Jason's, I was making $8.50 an hour.
Yeah.
So like no, that's never ever gonna work. But now the reason I don't have healthcare is because I'm just started a new job and I've only been there for 3 weeks and you kicks in after 30 days.
Well, the
Can we lower this?
Yeah.
It's hot.
Low. I can also put it back where it normally is.
Yeah, so it's not blowing directly on us because I don't want to be cold either.
It was a heater. It's cold here, so and we don't have any vents in here because it's soundproofing. So there's
And we're in the basement, so it's already cold.
it's already cold. Yeah. So when I was on my own, right, I had Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and I paid $60 a month, and I had great health insurance. Obamacare kicked in, and it kicked me from my Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and I had to pay $250 a month for something worse than what I was paying $60 a month for.
Yeah. I mean,
So if there was a way to do that, to do like what I have with Blue Cross and Blue Shield for people who are self-employed and stuff like that, and it's more of like a universal system, but you should be able to opt out of it if your company offers healthcare. Is what I think. And I think companies should get a tax credit if they offer healthcare, right?
mhm.
People aren't gonna like that because then you have like Amazon that doesn't pay any income tax as a company, right? Because they take advantage of all those tax credits that you can do. But give these companies ability to have a tax credit, and they're gonna take it.
Yeah.
Because they would rather offer employees health insurance than pay the tax.
Because then you're getting
You're giving something for something.
getting more employees and you're getting better employees because that's the things that they're looking for.
Exactly. You're getting something for what you're putting into it.
I interviewed at a place where it's a new company and
The
it's
cake pop company.
Cookie Dough Cafe. Yeah.
Okay.
Their owners are very young and they are both 25, so they're still on their parents' healthcare, so they haven't had to worry about getting health insurance for anyone. And everyone that works for the company is turning 26 this year, and they had nothing in place, which was one of the reasons that I was like iffy about taking the job, because I was like, well, I don't know when you're gonna have this actually set up, and like I do need health insurance as much as I don't want to pay for it because it sucks. If something happens, I don't want to pay for that either.
Yeah. I mean, I had no problem paying for my own health insurance. It was just very
Yeah,
expensive.
it's expensive.
It did not make it affordable.
No.
It made it affordable for people who really need it to be affordable.
Mhm.
But the thing is, I'm not rich. I'm very middle class, and it made it very expensive for me.
Mhm.
So to have my wife on it, and there's like a logo back here that I was feeling. So to have my wife on my insurance and to have a kid, like I don't have a kid right now, but to have a kid, to have them on that insurance, it all of a sudden got extremely unaffordable.
Yeah.
So the Affordable Care Act was not affordable to certain people,
Yeah.
And they say so like people like
Nothing
me.
works for the middle class
Well, the thing is,
very well.
people like me in the middle class normally aren't self-employed. They're normally middle class people are normally under some big company or something like that.
Mhm.
But I'm the anomaly to the what do they call it? You can't use anecdotal evidence to support arguments, and I was the anecdotal evidence. But okay, back to aliens.
Aliens need healthcare too.
I mean, if they're here on this planet and they're getting
They're here on this planet already. If you are among us, first of all, you can tell me because I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm cool.
I for one welcome my alien
I'm gonna
overlords.
ask you a shit ton of questions. Other than that, like I don't care. Like you go and do your own thing.
The thing is, like,
what's St. Lawrence Island?
I don't know. What is St. Lawrence Island?
I don't know, but it's near Nome, Alaska, which is right near Russia.
Yeah, Nome, Alaska is very close to Russia. I don't understand why. I say I'll do a little bit more research and see history and stuff I'm more into, but Russia gave up Alaska for like dirt cheap, like cents on the dollar.
Honestly, I mean, I guess most of Russia is probably the same way, but Alaska is a shitty place to build, and
It's
they're
got
talking about
tons of oil.
Most of Alaska isn't. You can't develop it because if the summer doesn't get hot enough and then it gets cold fast enough, the layer that's there already becomes permanently frozen.
It's called permafrost.
Yes, and then you just can't fucking use that. Like, what can you build on that?
Ice rinks.
All of Alaska is a giant ice skating rink. But yeah, so that trip that I wanted to take, or that I want to take into Alaska next summer, I can't go to Nome because I'd have to freaking fly there. And that's just gonna
Could you
have.
fly into Nome, not from Anchorage? Could you go from like California
Uh,
to Nome?
it looks like that because I did look into this too. It looks like the airlines that flies into Nome is Alaska Airlines. So
Mhm.
yes, I feel like I could fly into that from. I'm pretty sure that Alaska flies out of Louisville, doesn't it?
I've never seen it, but maybe out of Indy.
Maybe I barely ever fly out of Louisville, so but yeah, I feel like we could fly there out of here. But uh, me and my friend actually wanted to do like basically like a really long road trip and like do a whole bunch of different states and then up through Canada and just to like it would take like obviously a long amount of time to do, but it was just a thought.
One of the things that I want to do in that same sense is I want to go to each state capital and do a video on the capital itself. I know that's just
Get some boring shit in there.
yeah, that's my history side. I just want
Frankfurt.
the capital. I just want to do the Capitol building, not the city. Like
Okay.
the Capitol buildings. I want people to. I want videos of the cap because I went to Nashville and I had to get some B-roll. So I got it on. I went to the Capitol building, right? And it's the Tennessee State Capitol, and it's a really pretty building. I'd like to know what the inside is like and stuff like that. And I've been to the the Capitol building in DC, and I've done the Capitol building tour and stuff like that. I'm like, man. So my idea is if I do each state and I put them on YouTube, and so kids can go there and learn about the Capitol buildings, right? I do a couple. I started around here, like Kentucky, Indy, Ohio, right? And then I can use those as like hey, look what I can do for your capital. Oh, well, how much is it going to cost? Nothing. Just give me access to give me all this information and give me access. Let me fly my drone, all this kind of stuff, right? And and then eventually, like, I can go to the state capital and be like, hey, look at what I've done for all the states. Not the state capital, the nation's capital, and be like, let me do something for our capital, the, the national capital.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are like, oh, well, can you come do like the Washington Monument? Can you come do the this and that, blah blah blah. And next like I have all these things. Some Capitol buildings are really pretty, and some are really ugly.
I'm sure.
Like New Mexico's. Look up New Mexico's Capitol building. It is gross.
Why do you have you looked up New Mexico?
I wanted to see what every building looked like, so I went to I googled every single state Capitol building to see what they look like.
Holes.
Oh no! I go down them too. Hawaii's isn't nice either.
Hawaii's isn't nice either.
No.
That's depressing because I mean it's a Capitol building. I mean it looks like a building in New Mexico.
Right? But then when you look up something like so that's their state capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you look up something like we'll just go to Nashville because we're talking about.
I was looking at the map because I didn't realize how far Argentina is from the equator, and I always thought that it was like
Real close.
I don't always assume that that was like a place that was, hotter.
Do you want to go to Argentina?
No, I was just looking at the map. Things that interest me. I don't know.
So you compare it to this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's very stately and like.
I mean, that's what you assume Capitol buildings look like.
Yeah, and then you have that one. It looks just like an office building.
Yeah, it does.
Oklahoma's is weird too. Oklahoma State Capitol building. Oh, maybe it wasn't Oklahoma's. No, Oklahoma's is nice. Who had a weird one?
Probably like Montana or something. Oh my God! Did you know that there is a petition to sell Montana to Canada?
To Canada, yeah.
To get rid of some of our land.
Montana's a nice state. I've never been there, but I've seen pictures of it. It's beautiful.
There's like pretty parks and stuff there.
Yeah.
But, like, what goes on in Montana? That's one of those things.
They said there was something like
happens
one I saw a thing about it was like an article and it was like, can we throw in a Dakota? Like, well, which Dakota do we throw in? And someone was like, North Dakota. It's like, no, that's where the monument is.
I can't even think of it.
That the president's on it. Mount Rushmore. Yeah. Well, it's been An hour and 15 minutes. Should we end it there or should we keep going? I don't think we never set a time limit for this.
Yeah, we never set time limit. We were just kind of going with it. We didn't really plan any of this out, honestly.
Okay, so episode 1 is anti-vaccine aliens, question mark.
Yes. Aliens, if you want vaccines, we can give them to you. And if you want to come be my friend, I will literally not tell anyone.
So
And we're going to try to keep these away from aliens. But I swear to God that a lot of things come back to aliens. And I talk about this a lot, especially like as far as what in the universe I believe in.
well, here's what we'll do. Okay, if you've made it this far, if you're still watching, if you're still listening, we will try to have more every week we'll try to come to the table with a subject, at least one subject, and we will go down whatever rabbit hole it takes us. We don't know what that subject is yet, but we'll do that.
Man, I actually had a decent amount for this week.
You did, I didn't. All I talked about was a band that
That's
released an album today.
I don't know how. But I mean, you also work from home, so I've been coming across people all week that are like, just tell me something random, and I'm like,
Yeah, I don't see people.
like that's honestly where I got most of my topics from, were people at work
Okay,
or
well,
Facebook.
with that, we're going to end it there. Thank you so much for tuning in on the very first episode of Parlay in the Basement. If you really enjoyed this podcast, please give it a like, share, a comment on whatever platform that you're listening to us on.
Don't tag me in it.
And yeah, just keep listening. If we disappear one week, it's because we realized that it wasn't going the way we wanted to go, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But hopefully we don't. Hopefully this becomes a weekly occurrence and you enjoy listening to us. But thank you so much. Bye.